I have a question
Um,
precisely on this point, if you will. We have
Please.
a Neoplatonist friend whose name is Eric, and we love him. He's great. He's a very
Ah,
intelligent guy. He's just done a video with Verbeke. They just done an interview about
oh,
filler
excellent. Yeah.
um, and actually I think we agree more with Eric with because we're we're Eastern Orthodox, and Orthodoxy really emphasizes the monarchia of the Trinity. Well, simultaneously, that's not in contrast with a fully communal vision either. But my question for you is, he kind of Eric seems to not really understand the significance of, you could say, theosis vis-a-vis henosis, right? Why is it
Okay.
that I in my realization of and full union with what is absolute, the good, the one, isn't any particular good that you know uh, subsists in me being subjectively me, not already in the one. In addition to whatever particular subjective goods exist in all particular personal subjects, isn't that already all in the one to begin with? So why is it that my realization of the one doesn't just simply not dissolve me, but kind of yeah, like why is it? What is the need to kind of maintain the buffer itself? You could characterize it in a kind of if you were to be punitive about it,
Yeah.
why do you need this idea of theosis in contrast to henosis?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would need to know a bit more about the background out of which the question is coming and some of the terms, uh but just to sort of take a stab at the question, um, if everything, and this is something I used to raise a question I would raise with Eric Pearl. If there's nothing new under the one, he once said. That the by definition the one pre-contains all things, so that there can't be any novelty at all. That always struck me as missing something, even though there's something compelling about it in one respect, but it seemed to me that it has to be the case that that novelty is possible, and that there's quite a bit at stake if you deny that. Now, I think that a Trinitarian sense of God actually has a way of handling that simply God as the one wouldn't have. And here, you may know I worked initially on Hans von Balthasar. He's got a very rich, deep sense of God is always greater than himself in a paradoxical way. I mean, that's what in a way that and one has to be very cautious and quotation marks around everything, of course, analogical language, but there's something about the pure actuality of God is not a static actuality. It's an always great, it always already is always greater than itself. um, that's something that opens up the possibility of novelty in the world. That opens up then the idea that entering into the life of God does not require. It's not irrelevant. I'm not an irrelevancy, and it doesn't require me to just be absorbed into something that was always already there. But in fact, I mean, this is the real mystery. But somehow, we in our particularity, and even in our finitude and so forth, we actually make some kind of a contribution to the life of God. Now, that I mean, one has to be very careful and thinking about what that means, and but I think I think um, Balthazar at the end of his trilogy raises that question. Was hat Gott von der Welt? What does God receive from the world? It's a decisively important question. Again, incredibly mysterious, and one has to be very careful. But I think it's a really profound question.
Yeah, I was just gonna say to you, Trey, I
Mm.
think this might brush up on potentially why it is Sergius Bulgakov wants to kind of do his Christianized
Right.
Fichteanism and include this idea of self-positing,
Hmm.
God's
Yeah.
eternal friend as the person.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might be bumping up against why he wants to say that.
And yeah, I think that is just such a big discussion. We have to let Dr. Schindler go. I will make one more quick point that when you mentioned that there is some sense in which we contribute to God, I think you can just understand this in terms of you won't fall into heresy if you really link this to the condescension of Christ. And Saint
That's
Gregory Palamas, he has this great quote where he talks about how the distinctions in God, right? And of course, for him, he wants to defend the energy. So there's the divine nature, the divine energies, the divine persons, and you think he'll just stop there, but then he'll go, oh, but also now we can speak of the human nature of Christ as well after the incarnation. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think that ties in really well. But maybe that's all these questions are that we just sort of open the can of worms to. We can talk
But
at a later time because I'd love to we'd love to talk with you again in the future.
I love it too. I really enjoyed this, and I love your questions. So let's do it again.